Let's talk about another best practice in your luxury real estate career. It is similar to confidentiality in that when you practice it, you're respecting the best interest of a client. It's the concept of safeguard. By definition, this means a measure taken to protect someone or to prevent something undesirable. For our purposes, it means not disclosing to others information that may diminish our client's position. Think about any number of questions you might receive in a transaction that, when answered, might affect your client in a negative way. Think about how revealing certain information might become a disadvantage for them. Safeguard is similar to confidentiality. Where it differs is that with safeguard, it may not be confidential information per se. It's information that you are not releasing at that moment. This is due to the sensitivity or timing of the other person's relationship to the transaction. It's possible this may be information the other party could go out and obtain if they wanted to through a public or other source. For example, my buyer heard that your seller is in a lawsuit with his ex-employer. My seller thought he saw the buyers at church last Sunday. Is XYZ the chapel they will be attending? My buyer is related to the seller's neighbor. She heard your seller was diagnosed with cancer. My buyer's friend works at your seller's company. Did you hear she's selling her share of the firm for $5 million? Now, it's unlikely you would have your client's consent to disclose any of this information. You should not be talking about it with others or even making an insinuation one way or the other. In many situations, the disclosed information does not become a disadvantage until later in the transaction. For example, when the property is in the inspection request period and the buyer wants a credit, or the seller needs a timeline extension, or some other favor. It may come out like this. Your seller might need this closing to fight the lawsuit. This is the best option. It's 2 doors down from the chapel. Your seller should be focused on their health. Your buyer is funded. She can pay for any repairs. As agents, it's hard to know what to say or not to say in certain situations. The rule of thumb is this. If you would not feel comfortable sending a recording of the conversation you had with a third party directly to your client right after it happened, then you may be disclosing too much and not representing your client at the highest level. The influential conversation for these situations is this. In my capacity with the client, I'm not able to comment on that right now. It's that simple. Now, it does not mean you are robotic or act stoic, like you're pleading the fifth in a Senate deposition. It simply means you're politely and firmly establishing the rules of engagement. Sometimes a short laugh or other introductory remark helps to bridge the transition. Let's pretend for a minute. Imagine you are on a call and the other agent says, my buyer's friend works at the seller's company. Did you hear she is selling her share of the firm for $5 million? You say, $5 million? Wow. In my capacity with the client, I'm not able to comment on that right now. But Hannah is a hard worker, and anything she sets her mind to, she'll accomplish. Have your buyers finalized a date for closing? Do you see how that redirects the conversation to a more appropriate subject? One that safeguards your client. Let's pretend you receive a text message. My seller thought he saw the buyers at church last Sunday. Is XYZ the chapel they will be attending? Your reply. Hi, Ryan. Happy Friday. In my capacity with the client, I'm not able to comment on that right now. We're thinking Monday at noon for the inspection. Does that work for you? Now, if the other person continues to pressure you into a response, repeat the influential conversation again. It may seem awkward for a few seconds, yet the recital and reiteration will speak volumes as to how you operate as a professional, and that the boundaries of any conversation should remain solely on the closing conditions of the transaction. In luxury real estate, when dealing with high-ticket sales, more experienced agents, and savvy buyers and sellers, the strategy of the transaction intensifies. Many times it will feel like a game of chess, where one player is anticipating what will happen from 2 moves out. Any information that the other party learns could be used against your client. So always remember, It's your duty to safeguard them. Now, at this point in the program, there is occasionally some pushback from general real estate agents. They will say that by creating a commonality, it many times facilitates a better transaction and bonds the buyer and seller. For example, when both the buyer and seller are of the same profession or attend the same church. We have no disagreement in this. Building commonality between all parties is good. Just remember, it is a delicate balance, a fine line between exactly what you are disclosing and does it have the potential to become a disadvantage at some point in the future. The luxury consumer is unique. NAR research reveals that 80% of sellers of multi-million-dollar homes are concerned about an agent's ability to protect them by not disclosing unnecessary information. This means if a luxury seller learns that information you leaked devalued their negotiation position, it will likely be your last transaction with them. For you, as a luxury agent, the benefit of protecting a client's information during the transaction is that it builds deeper trust and provides for a more efficient process. Your clients will recognize your professionalism and have stronger loyalty when the transaction goes exactly as planned. One more time, in my capacity with the client, I'm not able to comment on that right now. Let's do this.